Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the DVC Clubhouse show, where we will be talking to our friend Bruce about his DVC origin story. I am here with Jeff, as always.
Hi, everybody.
And Bruce.
Hello.
Welcome.
So Bruce, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us and to nerd out about Disney and DVC with us. I think that we all get excited about these conversations, but we're really grateful to have you here. So thank you. And It's really nice to be able to finally to chat in person and not just on Facebook.
Pleasure to be here.
So great. So tell us, before we get into talking about Disney Vacation Club and how you became a DVC member and all of that fun stuff, why don't you tell us a little bit, number one, where you're from now and what your Disney origin story is, like how you started going to Disney, when you started to go to Disney.
Okay, well, it goes back a long time, but I do right now. I live in Chardon, Ohio, about 30 miles east of Cleveland with my wife. We have two adult boys, Jimmy and Chris. They're both DVC members. They are on our contract with us. And my first trip to Disney was, I graduated from college. It was 1987. And a buddy of mine drove down, stayed with my aunt and uncle who lived by New Smyrna Beach, and went over to Disney. And at that time, it was only Magic Kingdom and Epcot. And I don't know what it was, but I just liked it so much that I ended up going back by myself the next year in 1988. In 1989, brought my fiance, now my wife. We went down, and that was the year that MGM opened. So we did some days in the park. We actually got there early and got to ride the Great Movie Ride. And then next trip, we went 1993, was our actual first time we stayed in a Disney resort. We stayed at the Caribbean Beach Resort for one night. We were down there for a friend's wedding in Tampa. The first thing I remember was I was just so impressed by the fact that the soap, I think, and this is almost 30 years ago, looked like Mickey Mouse. But then kids came along, so we didn't get back till Disney until 2002. And then we wanted to kind of wait till at least our younger one was old enough to remember, go back. So in 2008, we did a trip. We stayed at the Grand Floridian. My son's marching band went to play at Disney World. So we, a friend from work, was a Disney Vacation Club member. So he, mentioned about renting some points, and he got us into the Wilderness Lodge Villas, now Boulder Ridge. In 2019, Disney offered free dining. So we decided to give the Poly a try, and I was kind of looking at the two. And I said, these Poly studios look pretty interesting. I like that second shower. So we ended up staying there, and we really liked it. So I'd always been interested in DVC, but it was just waiting for the right time, kids going to college and different stuff. So it just never happened. But in 2020, we started kind of looking, and I saw a Bay Lake Tower 125 point contract. So bid on it, and we got it. It didn't close for a while. So when we actually got the contract, we had a bonus of like 119 points on there we weren't supposed to get because they couldn't use them. So we ended up taking a quick trip in August of 2020. We did 2 nights at the Poly again, and 2 nights at Bay Lake. But we also bought in March a direct contract for Grand Floridian, because my fear was I bought this contract hoping that my sons can use it till it expires. And with the inability with the resale to stay at future resorts, I thought it'd be better to go, buy this Grand Floridian direct 150 points, and we ended up selling the Bay Lake contract a couple months ago.
When Disney used to do these promotions where they would do the free meal plan or the free park tickets, would go, and those people ended up becoming Disney Vacation Club members. And it's, they know what they're doing. They know how to get you. They bring you in. You have this like totally magical experience, and you feel like you've because you've gotten part of the trip for free, and they just know, clearly, in addition to how just amazing the experience is, but they were doing a really good job at keeping that like kind of positive momentum going where people love it. They were drawing people into the parks, and at the time when they were just, it seems like they were just constantly putting up Disney Vacation Club resorts. It was a great way to get people to be coming, taking repeat visits, because I mean, you were going to Disney quite frequently before you became a DVC member. And it was those different promotions that were, drawing you in. So it's just, they know what they're doing. And when you love it, you finally get to the point where you're like, yep, I need to be a DVC member, because if I'm going to come this frequently, that's what makes sense.
Yeah, I know. I probably initially was a little, shy of going up to him, because before DVC started, anytime you were off property, there were people sitting outside every little store trying to sell you timeshares. And I got to the point where I didn't want to even talk to any of these people, because it was like they try to give you like reduced tickets price or something just to get you in. But after talking to some people I knew that were in DVC, they're kind of different. They don't really pressure you. It's a great product. I just felt it was something I wanted to do.
That's a good point, because we live about 5-6 hours from Vegas, and you can't walk into a Vegas hotel without somebody trying to pitch you timeshare of some variety. And it's just like you said, it's free tickets to a show or free dining or whatever they can do to try and wrap you into the conversation. And they never let you go. Even if you walk away, somehow they've gotten your blood sample and your firstborn kid's name, and you're getting emails and all kinds of stuff. So I can see that. And it really speaks to how well Disney believes in their own program, because it kind of sells itself. They don't need those tactics.
I was a little naive, because the only time I had ever sat through like a timeshare presentation was, when I was 22 years old, and I was with my aunt looking at the boardwalk open house on my visit with her. And it was just so pleasant, and they brought us into the model unit, and they showed us a video, and then they basically were like, do you have any questions? And she asked her questions, and then we were on our way. And it did not take a ton of our vacation time. I mean, and I do think that part of it is they don't want you they want you to buy, but they also don't want you spending all of this time sitting in their sales office and not in the park spending money too. Like they want to make sure that they are getting you, like they're going to draw you in, they're going to give you what you need to know, and then they do a very good kind of follow-up approach. But they get you back into the parks, and they make it easy. They'll pick you up. They'll bring you where you need to go. And I was really, really naive, because I was in Myrtle Beach. My ex-husband and my kids were young, and we had taken this impromptu trip to go to Myrtle Beach. And we thought, oh, let's take advantage of this. We could go to this pirate dinner thing. And if we sit through this timeshare presentation, and we thought, oh, what is it going to be, an hour? We were there for almost 3 hours, and my ex-husband ended up getting into a verbal fight with the people there, because they were so aggressively telling us, like, just hold on, we'll be right back, we're going to get something. And they would leave us sitting in a room, and it was a terrible experience. And so, yeah, so the Disney experience, I mean, they want to keep the magic alive, even when they're trying to get you to spend $35,000.
Well, what I did, since I bought resale, I didn't really have a DVC rep, but I just responded to one of their little survey things, and the rep called me. She said, "But you're already DVC." I said, "Yeah, but I'm interested in when the details come out the Grand Floridian of buying." And she called me that morning with all the details. She's been great. She still calls periodically, checks up. She even calls the other members of the family too. And it just worked, for us and I didn't feel any pressure at all or anything from her. I mean, it was a good experience.
And that's interesting too, because I bought resale first as well, and then bought direct kind of as my last contract. And we went on a Disney cruise earlier last year, March. And I was shocked because I don't even have a rep either. Like I bought online and they closed over the internet because it was during COVID. So I never talked to an actual person really. And all of a sudden I'm getting ready the day before this cruise. We were checking out of Vero Beach and driving to the port, and I get a call. Hey, we just wanted to let you know that we're excited that you're going on a cruise. Stop by and see us at the DVC booth and we'll give you some free crap. And I was just like, nobody else does this. Like,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
I think
Yeah.
our rep,
It's also disconcerting that they knew that I was going on a cruise without me telling anybody, but that's a story for another day.
our rep called me when we were in line for Toy Story Mania.
So now you said that, so you've stayed at Bay Lake Tower, Polynesian, Grand Floridian, Boulder Ridge, and Beach Club. Have you stayed at any, in Old Key West?
Right now, Beach Club and the Grand Floridian were the not DVC rooms, though.
Oh,
That's pretty much it for where we've stayed on property. We did.
so do you have any trips planned right now, did you say?
Yeah, that we're doing the Grand Floridian this summer.
right.
We got the 2-bedroom for 5 nights, just for 4 people. It's probably gonna be pretty nice.
You're gonna
Yeah,
love it.
for sure.
Yeah.
And so that would be your first time staying at Grand Floridian on the DVC side.
Yeah. And I got a 2-bedroom standard view because I really want a nice monorail room so I could just sit out on the balcony. And I don't know, I just like watching the monorail go by sometimes. It's just relaxing.
That's cool. I get that for sure.
Yeah.
I had a standard. I've stayed at Grand Floridian twice on the DVC side, one in the original Villas building and one in the resort studio, so the other building. But when I was in the deluxe studio in the original building, I had a standard view, and it's honestly one of my favorite views that I've had in any room. And because I was at the end of a balcony, our balcony was like the last one, so we had a view of the Polynesian and Seven Seas Lagoon. I had the wedding pavilion in front of me and then the monorail to the right. And it was just, I was like, can it get any more Disney than this? And looking at the Polynesian and at the monorail and at Seven Seas Lagoon, sitting on a balcony at the Grand Floridian, like that just felt, I don't know, for me, even more so than like looking at Cinderella's castle, it just felt like, with all of those different elements in my viewpoint, it just felt like, gosh, like this just feels so Disney. And it was gorgeous. And it also had a view because, you can call and request views. And sometimes I have interesting requests, like I really enjoy watching the sunrise or the sunset, and they'll note that. And in this room, I could see the sunrise to the left of me over, because it comes up over Bay Lake. So it was like I could over in the distance, and then to the sun sets to the right over the monorail. So I was like, and they honored both of, I was like, where else can you go and have a room where you can watch both the sunrise and the sunset? This is amazing.
It's also nicely looked by not between Gasparillo's. We could also go to Captain Cook's, just a little bit farther walk. And Captain Cook's is probably my favorite quick service. So I'm kind of excited about that too, being between the two.
Very cool.
Yeah, it is awesome. I really loved being able to walk easily in between the Poly and Grand Floridian, because that just opens up. It's kind of like when you're staying at Crescent Lake and you can walk from like Boardwalk to Beach Club, or like Beach Club to the Swan. You just have so many different dining options that open up for you, even if it's just for coffee, because like I think that this, personally, I'm not a huge Joffrey's lover, but if you go to the Swan, they have a nice coffee shop that has they have different brands of coffee. So I'll walk over there, and it just opens up the number of options. And I love that at, Grand Floridian and Polynesian are just like kind of like these, they feel like sister resorts to me that are just, they look nothing alike, but you kind of have access to them both.
Yeah, they announced the tower like 2 days after I bought my Grand Floridian, but I don't think I could have waited that long anyway. So
Yeah.
but I'll still be able to, try to get there a 7-month mark.
Out of the ones that you've stayed at so far, what would you say your favorite is?
Well, I know my favorite resort is definitely the Poly. I just love that whole feel there. And even Bay Lake, I liked a lot. I just not real keen on the dining options. Contempo Cafe is definitely not my favorite, but I do like the convenience, the Magic Kingdom of walking, the monorail. But I do think the Poly, though, is definitely the favorite, because even taking the Epcot monorail, I just walk over to there, because I found taking the Epcot monorail to Bay Lake coming back was a little more of a hassle, because you had to switch, and then there was a wait, there was a storm, we got stuck at the Poly for a while, which, again, of all places you get stuck at, that was a good place, but the Poly is my favorite resort.
Cool.
Yeah, and if you stay in Moorea all the way at the end, you're a little bit far from the lobby, but you are so close to the Ticket and Transportation Center. So you've got the access to the ferry and the monorail right there. And to your point, you can hop on to the Epcot monorail without needing to transfer. And it's just so
Right.
convenient. I mean, we literally had the last room in that building. So we just walked down the stairs that went out, like the end of the hallway, and they would go out, you walk down the side of the building, and then 5 minutes and you're at the TTC. You do have the ferries. I personally like them. I've seen people online ranting because they think it's too loud and it's disruptive and they've been unhappy. To me, there are certain things like sounds, sights, and smells that are just so like quintessentially Disney to me. And the sound of the ferry boat horn for me is one of them. Like when I hear that, I'm like, ah, or like the friendship boat horns, I'm like, ah, I'm here, I'm at Disney. And it makes me feel like I'm home.
I stayed in Tokyo both times, which I kind of like, because you're nicely between the, the Great Ceremonial House and the TTC, and the Oasis pool's right out in front. And the last time we actually stayed towards the lake side of there, and if I went on the balcony, I could see, part of the castle, nice view of the Grand Floridian. It was a really great view, and I just really liked it.
Yeah. It's funny because Contemporary and Polynesian clearly were both like the OG resorts, but there is something for people that Polynesian just has this like nostalgia for them. They love the vibe. And part of me feels like when I think about the Polynesian, and over the years they've definitely updated it, but it did have this very like kind of like 1970s, like, I mean, it opened in 1971, so it makes sense that it would have a 1970s vibe, but it had that like 1970s like Polynesian type vibe. And like when you think about that episode of the Brady Bunch where they went to Hawaii, and they
Yeah, I remember that one.
like,
Yep.
I don't know, there's just like something about the Polynesian that like that style like reminds me of that time, and it adds, and I don't know, maybe it's just like my generation. I feel like generationally, definitely like I've noticed that, and this is a generalization, but definitely like millennial DVC members have very different preferences than the Gen Xers. But like as a Gen Xer, I'm like, oh my gosh, the Polynesian totally just like brings me to this like 1970s Brady Bunch vibe, and it's kind of fun. It's like this like fun, funky, old school, like you're combining both like a decade and like an artistic style, like, and a cultural style, like all together, and it's definitely a vibe.
Well, and to that point, I think that's why Poly tends to rank towards the top of people's is, the Contemporary is great. Bay Lake Tower rooms are very clean and nice, and the Grand Floridian rooms, but Polynesian makes it feel like you're somewhere else, where the other ones are very much hotel. There's not a lot of immersion, so to speak, where they could have filmed that Brady Bunch special at the Polynesian. Probably nobody would have known the difference.
Wish the pool's a little deeper. It goes up to like my waist. I feel like Godzilla walking around.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And you said that you really like Bay Lake Tower, and it's often when we ask people on this show what their least favorite resort is, Bay Lake Tower comes up as one. But that is not the case for you. So what is it? I mean, I know you said the walking distance to the Magic Kingdom is something that you like, but you don't love the restaurant. So what else is it about Bay Lake Tower that you really like?
I think it's mainly location, and also that extra bathroom is
Yeah.
really nice, because when we had, came down with my wife's brother and sister-in-law, that, and my wife and I had the master. Her brother and sister-in-law and son had the second bedroom when my boy stayed out, and used the pullouts. But each group had their own bathroom. So, trying to get ready in the morning with the showers and that, it worked out really good. And then you've got the location, which is so close to Magic Kingdom, and transportation. I don't have to worry about taking the buses to Epcot or Magic Kingdom, although we usually have a car, so we don't take the buses a lot to like Animal Kingdom that I always drive. But I just, in the Contemporary, just walking the grounds though, I mean, it's cool. You got the everyone takes their picture with Mickey on that in the back.
Yeah.
You sit in the lobby, watch the monorails come by. I mean, it was fun. I definitely, I most would have wish I could have bought direct at Bay Lake, but when the price for the Grand Floridian came in where it did, I just couldn't pass it up, and I'm still in the monorail.
Yeah. I said, I think we were all shocked at that price point when Grand Floridian launched with those new rooms. I think we were all like, huh, okay, where do I sign?
I know, I was surprised when it came in where it did. I'm like, wow, I thought it'd be more.
I remember when, again, because I've been a DVC member for a million years, I remember when Bay Lake Tower was the new resort and you couldn't really get in at all. And I tried like on my 7-month mark, like up first thing calling. And that's when you had to call and make a reservation. Like you couldn't do it online. You had to call and make reservations. And I'd call and it would be busy, and then you'd finally get through, and then they'd say, oh, sorry, we don't have anything. And it's just so funny, and now it's like, that's Grand Floridian is. And so, yeah, when like that price point came up, people were like, oh my gosh, I definitely have to book here, because this is like similar to Beach Club. Like, I feel like those are the two where, unless you own there, you're not getting a full week in the unit that you want
Right.
at 7 months.
I did see some halfway decent availability. Like we go usually like in July, so it's not a peak time. So there was some pretty good 7-month availability left. We're just doing the 5 days. They're not the whole week, so I don't know what would have been for a whole week. But there's a lot of resort.
I think that the addition of the resort studios helped a lot at Grand Floridian in terms of inventory availability, because I do see it come up much more frequently now that those are open than I ever had before they opened those.
I think my preference though is the original deluxe studios, just because I like that, having that extra shower and stuff, where the resort studios aren't as appealing to me. And had they not included the original building with them, I might not have bought there.
Yeah, it's a good point.
That's why I'm thinking the Poly might be its own, because that new tower could sell itself. Where I think the Grand Floridian, if it was just the resort studios, they'd have had a lot tougher time selling that one.
It's interesting, especially since the Poly only has the studios and the bungalows, to see if I feel like it could go either way, because to your point, like the Poly can sell on its own, but the fact that there's only studios and bungalows makes the Polynesian like a little bit of a kind of a weird contract to own, because you just don't have those options of the larger units or the grand villas, and now you do. So, and
Right.
Because like the bungalows, they still only have 2 bedrooms, the grand villas have the 3. So I don't know. I think that like you could probably argue either way. I'm excited to see what they do. I don't know. I keep thinking in the back of my head, like, oh, maybe I'll add Poly, or maybe I'll add Disneyland Tower, or I don't know. It's like, it's like the DVC members, that's what we're constantly doing, is thinking like, when's my next trip, and am I going to add another contract?
I think
So is there anything on your DVC bucket list, beyond like staying at the resorts that you just mentioned, anything that you're looking to do? Do you think that you would ever use your points to travel off Disney World property?
Well, we definitely would like to either do a cruise, which I probably wouldn't do the points for unless I just sold them and applied it towards the cruise, or Alawani, if I pronounce that right. We definitely, those are the two big things we'd like to do. Well, the other thing that doesn't really involve points is I'd like to go to the Top of the World Lounge because I've never been there.
Mm.
And it was closed when we were there this summer, and it was closed when we were there in 2020. So we're hoping to get there on this next trip.
Well, that's awesome. The Top of the World Lounge is such a funny thing to me because I'm like you. I had never been there either. It was closed when I bought, and it was closed for like 4 of my vacations. And this last trip, my girlfriend and I were doing the monorail loop, just kind of checking some stuff out, hitting the bars, whatever. And we're like, there was availability at Top of the World, and we're like, I want to go and see what it is. And you get up there, and it's okay, like it's fine. It's just a bar that's up there, but there's something about, I don't know. I feel like the guy on Wayne's World when they have backstage passes and they're flashing the backstage passes to get into the, it's just like, it's not a great place, but only I can go here. So I love it. I think it's cool. Same with Epcot at the Epcot Lounge. There's nothing to that space, but it is pure bragging rights to be able to say that you can go inside.
Yeah, just to cool down and get a quick soft drink or something is kind of nice.
I particularly like it for charging. Like when my when my portable chargers are low and my phone is low, I go up there and plug in all my devices, get a drink, a little snack. And that is like such a perk to be able to find a place where you can sit down and charge your devices without having to like go back to your room. Or, I mean, I could tell you where there are a lot of outlets located at Disney World. I have sat in some really weird places on the floor of some places I probably shouldn't have been sitting on to charge my phone. Like there is, where the guest services Blue Umbrella is in Hollywood Studios. That's right out. It's like right before you get into Galaxy's Edge. It's like near the Muppet Vision 3D. Across from there is like those kind of like the leftover buildings from when it was the New York
Street. Yeah.
Street. And there is like building facade. What looks like that's like the entrance to a apartment building. There is so it's like a little bit of an alcove, and it has an awning and a door. And there's an outlet on the floor there, like I mean on the wall there. And I will go over there and I will sit down. My kids will go off. I'm like, I have to go to the doorway, and they know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yes, sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but
that needs to be
to not have to sit on the floor in and to be able to go to the Top of the World. I mean, to go to the Epcot Lounge it's a huge perk.
That needs to be its own episode, charging tips with Amy, and we're just going to follow you under the camera, and you're sleeping under a park bench with your phone plugged into the lamppost. Yeah.
It's sad because over the years, I think that they know that some guests know where they are, and I think that they've cut the power to some of those outlets that clearly at one point served some purpose, or for emergency reasons they needed them. But there was one in the back of the shops in the UK and Epcot where Pooh and Piglet used to have their character meet and greet. And there was one on the floor under a desk there, and I would go in there and charge. Like I scoped them, but then I know I have a problem. But but some of them,
they have portable chargers now. You know that, right? There's things that you can buy and you carry in your pocket.
I do know that, and I do have some, but I also have two teenage daughters, and this is also a total tangent. And I don't know, Bruce, your kids are a little bit older, so I don't know if you have this issue, but people complain about how they have to be on their phones a lot for my Disney experience. And I'm like, that is not an issue for the generation of like my kids who are just on their phones all the time anyway. Like their phones are dead before we even get into the park. So, Yeah,
my teenage stepdaughter's the same way. She's on her phone at Disney all the time. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna be on your phone, get us a fast pass, for crying out loud. Like, why do I gotta be in charge? Shut off Snapchat for 5 minutes.
So we like to talk to people about, we all share our favorite memories. We post them on social media, but there are Disney memories that are things that we that wouldn't make it onto social media, wouldn't make it onto our highlight reel because they weren't all that magical, whether it be the fault of our own or something that happened at Disney. Do you have any of those?
Well, probably the funniest one, and this actually happened on our 2002 trip. My youngest was 22 months old and he was sleeping. We told Tigger, don't wake him up. And of course, Tigger woke him up. So for years, I think when he was like, in elementary school, he did not like Tigger because we told him the story about Tigger waking him up at Crystal Palace.
You don't ever wake a sleeping child. Don't they know that?
Yeah, I guess not.
It's funny though that you told him the story and he's like appalled by it. Like he was felt like violated.
I think he's over it now, but he's 22 years old.
And see, I'm a terrible human being, but I would have leaned into that his whole childhood. Every Christmas there would have been a Tigger under the Christmas tree.
So Bruce, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience? Any wisdom, any tidbits?
I wrote some things down. I can't remember if we covered them all or not. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, the only thing I wrote is favorite places to eat.
Well, what's your favorite?
Well, for quick service, it's Earl's Sandwich all the way.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that choice.
Probably for table service, probably Boathouse. I'll admit we haven't been to a lot of restaurants, but we really like that. And for snacking, I like at Disney Springs Pizza Ponte. In there, because as you know, Amy, I like Jersey pizza.
I know, and honestly, I actually went to Pizza Ponte in July, because you had said that it was this thing that was the closest to the pizza that you would get on the boardwalk in at Ocean City, right? That's where you go. Yeah. So I tried it and it was good. Honestly, that is what they should be serving at the boardwalk window.
Yeah.
Instead of that fluffy little pizza that they serve. That pizza at Pizza Ponte, that should be the boardwalk window pizza.
Oh yeah, the big Roman or whatever it's called, something like that.
I'll have to try that next time. I haven't eaten there yet. So
yeah, that's the huge slice. Yeah, because you can't just stop by Via Napoli and grab a slice. So yeah, that's.
Well, my family, my grandparents, they own an Italian restaurant here in Utah, or did until a couple years ago, and it's kind of like their pizza is the most popular in their geographic area. Everybody goes to Robintino's for pizza, and so I'm a little bit of a snob when it comes to pizza, and Disney has struggled with that for decades. So I'm gonna try it. I'm putting it on the list.
Yeah, I think Via Napoli and Pizza Ponte to me are the true, two that are worth eating there. The rest are, nothing special.
Yeah,
I agree. And again, living in New Jersey, we've got great pizza everywhere you go. The pizza at Disney struggles, but I agree with you. However, the one exception is that the Via Napoli pizza window, when it is open, it serves different pizza than the pizza that they serve in the restaurant.
it does.
Which I found out that the hard way, because there was one trip where I thought, you know what, we won't get the reservation. We'll just grab the pizza at the window because my daughter loves it. It's her favorite restaurant at Disney. And that was a parenting fail because I sent her to that window and she came back and was like, what is this? She's like, this is disgusting. She's like wiping off the cheese and the sauce. And, it was a little bit better than the pillow pizza, but it was a far cry from what they serve inside, which is delicious.
They're usually closed when we're there. That's the other thing. I think of all the trips we've been to, that pizza window's only been open once.
Same.
Well, you're not missing anything. So I'm sorry for people who love it, but
yeah, you're getting hate mail tomorrow here. The villagers are coming for you.
I know, I'm comparing the Polynesian to the Brady Bunch, and I'm saying that the Via Napoli pizza window pizza is terrible.
Yeah.
But I'm just, I'm dropping truth bombs here, people.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking your time again and joining us and our silliness and our conversations. It was great to connect with another DVC member about your story, your love of Disney. And to everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like or comment. Let us know what content you want to hear. Let us know what you think about the Via Napoli pizza window pizza. But be gentle. And until next time, DVC real soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.